Hi there everybody, my name is Kate and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. So the windblown look, we're playing the precursor to anywhere from 3 to 30 inches of snow tomorrow. So it's windy, it's blowy, and it's weird. This is really kind of a continuum video, though it will apply anytime. I've noticed for myself recently that the more I really declare my independence and my sovereignty, it just really there's a blowback every single time, especially when there's people working real hard and they're undivine. And it's not to be cruel in saying it, it's just, man, it's so obvious to me, like, what is your problem, with me? And what is my problem that I keep having these interactions with people like this? And so, as I commonly do, I start speaking to spirit immediately of why is this being brought to me? And what was so really weird is that I had an interaction with someone recently that I don't know this man. He's a neighbor and we've spoken a few times. However, we're not friends exactly. I mean, we live in the same community and, we have a dog each, and yeah, that's about it. And, when I first met him, he was super vulnerable. I could just see he looked like a broken man. I'm like, that looks like the aftermath of, relationship gone up in flames, That's just the look that it had. And he's probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years younger than me. So, I mean, he wasn't young and, I just got dumped from prom or something. It looked like some pretty intense emotional pain. And, I'm an empath, and so I can pick that up and put it right down that that's not my business, but I can see that. You'd almost need to be blind to not see someone's hurting. However, I could see that. And when he first moved in, to the area, I said, well, welcome, whatever. And etc. and left it at that, and when I saw him the next time, over the last, I don't know, 6 months, year, 12 years, I don't know, it's not been forever, however long it's been, that every time I saw him, I'm friendly to my neighbors that care to be friendly. I like to say hi, because why not? Why would I be so shuttered up into myself that I can't even say hello to someone? But whatever. So anyway, I saw him one day and he was just like shaking and he looked terrible. I mean, he looked like he was in a pretty bad spot, and I said, are you okay? Everything all right? And he literally was just fighting back tears and disclosed that he was going through a divorce, and it was really just kicking his ass, and I felt a great deal of empathy for him, because I understand that. I went through that. That part of the divorce process is brutal whenever you're first coming to grips with what just happened here, and starting to figure out, how very unpleasant and unkind, people can be when we start separating from them, how intense that can get and how cruel it can get. It is mind-blowing. So, I identified, not because I was projecting to him. He was telling me some things like, yeah, that's pretty hurtful there, friend. Yeah, that, I can understand why you would be really hurt by that and really shocked, and, etc. So, I felt a tenderness, kind of in my heart towards him, that, oh man, that's rough, because I do understand, the emotional pain of that. Though, I didn't connect with him on that level and say, I totally get it, because I don't totally get what he's going through. I only know how it felt when I went through it, and man, it sucked, So, I can relate on at least a superficial level. However, I certainly didn't get into bed with him and start telling him, I totally get this, blah, blah, blah. And it seemed like we had, a respectful relationship, and we did. But when I saw him the next time, it was around Christmas, I guess, and I just left him a little Santa Claus thing, a dog for his bone or something, a bone for his dog or something like that, just to, and put, Christmas hug, hope you're feeling better, and just left it anonymous, because, whatever, he looked like he was in such bad shape, and it was a holiday, and I thought, well, hopefully he's doing better, and I don't know him, and I'm not opening up the door that let's go chat, and linger around talking about our woes or anything. That's not what I was interested in doing, and wasn't what he was interested in doing, which is perfect. We're good. We're on the same page. However, I felt like I could extend a gesture of, hey, you're not alone. I know you're, fairly new to the area and you're going through some rough stuff. However, I just didn't identify myself specifically, but I guess he figured out, who it was. And so, I don't know, a couple weeks later, he came by and offered something that he'd been roasting on his grill. I don't even remember what it was, but it was delish, whatever it was. Something that he'd been roasting for 12 or 14 hours or something, and said, yeah, you know, here, whatever. And I thought, well, that's nice. You know, I didn't expect that, but hey, you know. And so every time after that, we never got into any intense conversation about anything in particular. However, his mouth was saying, you know, some very spiritual sounding stuff, and some stuff that sounded like he was really, you know, working through ego, and, you know, talked about Carl Jung, talked about, excuse me, archetypes, and talked about a whole lot of, one day, some very strict, hard right, you know, this is what I do, you know, this is what I believe in, blasphemy and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, which is fine. You know, people are where they are. And it's not my job to tell someone that what they believe and how they're coping with their world is wrong. As I don't want anybody doing that to me, then I certainly wasn't going to tell this man that, well, that seems like it's pretty locked up in some very rigid understanding. It doesn't matter. For me, that would be very rigid to be there in that understanding. However, you know, if it's keeping him from shooting someone, or, you know, going off the wall and being really mean and hateful, then please believe whatever you need to. However, the last couple of weeks have been pretty intense in my own personal energetic space, with just, you know, weird dreams and some astral visitations that are unfreaking welcome. However, if they're allowed in, they've been brought in for a reason. My team doesn't just let me go through stuff blindly or blithely that, oh, we're going to use this. If somebody's throwing something, we're going to use that for good. It doesn't matter what the intention was from their end of, you know, throwing hate or talking nasty or doing stuff behind the scenes in those magical, you know, Wi-Fi spaces, whatever, you know, being unclean. My team allows it in, and I'm allowed to experience it. There's a reason that we're going to desensitize to this. We're going to, you know, alchemize this. We're going to work with this, because if it's coming in and it's bringing something up in me, that's the bugaboo that needs to be dealt with immediately. So I don't take those things always with grace, you know, because they hurt my feelings, they scare me sometimes, etc. However, it's anchored in deeply enough now that, yeah, there's a reason for this. So let me get over the butt hurt, let me get over the fear, let me get over the what the F, you know, is going on here. Let me go on ahead and get jiggy with it, because it is here. And I don't want to just be so ignorant and in a state of denial that, yeah, there's more than just a river in Egypt that's denial. It's something else if you just completely act like none of this is happening. So, you know, I've been clear enough in understanding that deal with stuff when it comes. It doesn't matter what the source is, whether I can identify it or not, whether somebody's, you know, consciously doing something, astrally visiting. It appears that way to me, and it really doesn't matter. I need to deal with the negativity, and more appropriately, I need to deal with my reaction and my response to that, especially if it's entering into something that wants to be hateful, wants to be return fire, wants to engage it in some way, or wants to feel shame, or pick up some little nasty monkey from my past about, you know, how awful I am, or all that other bullshit. That is a perfect tool for keeping me in the old paradigm. It's just keeping me in that old state of mind, that old programming, that old way of being, that old everything. And if it's tapping that and even suggesting, hinting, or possibly smelling like that, then, oh, we got to clear that out, 838, because there's too much of a propensity to dive headfirst into that and be days, weeks on end going and all that other stuff. And dude, I already did that, you know? No. So even though I can't say that I love it, I mean, I have not to that point where I would say, yeah, I just love when people bring me, you know, some other facet of me that I need to, you know, get sad or mad or whatever about myself or about them or whatever. However, I do faithfully 100% believe that it's always working for my good, no matter what is showing up in my hood. It is always working for my good, because it may not always be good that people are intending for me. However, we're going to use it for good, because it's going to be alchemized away from me. That's how I use that for the magical aspect of healing and moving alchemy and transmutation and transmutation and transcendence above my ego response to that, or my wounded part response of that. So anyway, back to my whatever he is, my teacher. my teacher, and man, so like I said, I don't know how long he's been in the neighborhood. I have no idea. It could have been, 6 months, could have been a year. I have no idea. But anyway, so I happened to, the last few days, as I said, I'm going through my own, what is all this crap? And it seems like there's thematic stuff. Well, guess what? We're going to bring 1010 just passed. Thank you. That we're going to bring even bigger theme to you today of here's what, we're going to talk about today. This man, I keep up, kind of like when people tell me, oh, I'm going to go do this, I just happen to be able to remember details about a lot of stuff that seemingly isn't very important. But, when I remember something about someone and go, oh, how'd that go? Whatever. And so I asked him about it because there was something he was being involved in a competition. And oh, how'd that go? And he said, I got my ass kicked. I'm like, oh, okay. Wow. So anyway, we were just chatting, and I was feeling particularly vulnerable myself, though I was, putting on my mask, because I don't want to be out, in the wild with just feeling sad or vulnerable or whatever. And it was my own personal stuff. And I was happy to see, someone that I could ask, how's everything going in your world? I'm just out here taking my dog to poop, but however, what's going on in your world? How's that? It distracts me for a few minutes, 11:11. It gives me the opportunity to not get involved in whatever's trying to settle in from this morning, that I was already feeling a little vulnerable and a little bit, weird and a little bit funky and a little bit off. Well, my pheromones were out there with, yeah, I'm feeling a little vulnerable. Cool. Let me come over and bite you. Let me come over and get a taste of you. So I asked him, and we got in this conversation, and he said, how you been doing? And I said, well, just weird couple of days, feeling a little vulnerable, and actually said that, just feeling a little vulnerable, like just kind of weird, because we had talked about the fact that he's in therapy, he's recovering from, this monster divorce process where he's been dragged, and so I thought if anybody could handle that, and understand that, he might get that, and I've never had any reason to believe that, he would be not very sensitive to that. And I wasn't laying out my whole life or my own story or asking him to fix it or any of that. None of it. I was just simply saying, yeah, it's been a weird couple of days, been feeling kind of vulnerable, a little bit slow, and that whatever. And he's like, yeah, what's going on? And so I just told him, I said, well, I had an interaction, that was just a little problematic. I didn't understand, the overreaction that I had with someone else. And he proceeded to bring to me the overreaction and then the fix it and the you're wrong and you're broken of all the bullshit paradigm when we go into upside down world. Like, did we just hit a Stranger Things episode? Yes, Kate, we did. Don't wait. Disengage immediately. However, I wasn't catching on the moment, because whatever it is in me that's trying to work its way through with, he has nothing to do with my history. He's just blubbering and blabbing the parts of history that for me needed to be seen in real time. Like, this is mine. This is real time of somebody actively gaslighting me and asking me to join the delusion of this is about you. Because when I said this thing happened, it was just kind of upsetting. I wasn't expecting it, of an interaction 1313 that I had with someone, an actual person, just a couple of days ago, and proceeded to ask me to join the delusion and get on that shame monkey ride with him of, well, it seems like you're hanging on to your trauma. I mean, was absolutely going psychoanalysis Carl Jung like he was qualified to do so. And, finally, after about 5 minutes, I realized, oh my God, I'm caught in this horrific cycle with this person that, I couldn't believe it. I felt wounded for half a second. Like, I've been very kind to you, and I've seen, and been very empathetic with you, and could have said a whole bunch of stuff, about you and what you were going through. However, that's not my job. It would be cruel and, observing things that look like self-destruction to me. However, I don't know what you're going through, and it's not my business to do anything except make an observation and not get very close, because what I see in the observation is, don't get too close. And then to have that turned around, that I've just told you I'm feeling kind of vulnerable, and you you dig in and ask for more, then I give that to you. Still, guarded, because that's the way I play these days. It can seem very, guarded or whatever, or standoffish, or like it, psychological profile can be built, I suppose. However, nah, because if I'd laid it all out there and gone completely belly up, this man launched into me with all kinds of projections and all kinds of stuff about, you're just standing in your trauma, you're ruminating, you're still, if you're not able to let go of it, when did this happen? And I'm like, is this man 1444 seriously? He's really seriously gonna interview me and get all questions about what? You don't have questions, dude, because it ain't none of your business, and it's none of mine to know why or how or whatever. And so I just said, well, thank you for the feedback, yet, you know, I said, that's really not what's happening here. However, the fact that you think it is and are really telling me that that's my experience, except that your mouth is saying to me, well, you have no idea what was going on for that other person. I'm like, this is the point that we need to stop this 15-15, because I don't feel comfortable anymore with this conversation that you don't know what I'm going through, and I don't know what you're going through. You've just stated very clearly it's a perfect time for us to both, at least me, acknowledge that I know what's going on for me, and I don't need anybody to identify my insides. I was simply saying that I felt, you know, a little bit vulnerable, and it's time for me to go now. Thank you very much for your feedback, and got to go. And leave it with grace. However, you know, he was just shaking his head and angry, and he actually, at some point in the conversation, this was right towards the end of, okay, I've been mistaken here about what I'm doing, that you've been asleep for a second, Kate, wake the F right up, that he said, well, I would say something, but I know you can't handle it. And I said, excuse me? He goes, you wouldn't like it, you know, your ego is still involved. And I was like, oh, cool, well, I got to hear this, because I can't wait to, you know, please, you know, why would you assume that you know me? You don't. We don't know each other that well. And I said, well, whatever you need to say that you feel like you need to say, please say it, because you have no idea what I think or how I would respond. And he said, well, it's because you're responding to that other person because you're a woman. And I said, well, okay. I said, maybe so. I said, I'll take that into consideration. However, you know, if you were waiting for me to be butthurt and upset or take some prejudice because I'm a woman, and then proceeded to march into the territory, well, because you're so sensitive and you're so this, and I was like, okay, well, you know, that's enough. And I think that's when it turned into, you know, because I wasn't aware of what the other person was going through and blah, 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 making assumptions and everything. So, it devolved quickly. However, the fact remains that I was cheesed, and I was all up in my human being and my ego, my wounded places, a whole lot of stuff, because that's what's been presenting itself with the energies that are here right now, with the full moon, with a Mercury retrograde that's coming soon, I do believe, and 1717 88, that even if it's not all of that, it's what's presenting in the energy, in some of the dreams that I had last week, and some of the astral visitation, and some of the stuff, the synchronicities that were aligning. We sometimes think that synchronicities are always fun and, you know, they're delightful, and they are when they're that. And they're that, you know, that I get called, or the ability to, let's work through some more stuff. And are you going to take on the shame monkey that somebody's trying to throw at you? And it took me a few minutes. I mean, it was almost like, oh my God, I can't believe that I just did that. And yet when I went upstairs, you know, I'm like, what is this? I feel like I've been slimed. I feel like somebody just threw, you know, tar or dirt or something, or just mud or just shit on me. What is this, you know? And it had to work through that's the projection of somebody trying to engage me, to put their stuff onto me. And it doesn't matter how kind I've ever been to another person. And I don't regret the 1818 that I'm very kind with people. However, I also don't regret the fact that we're not ever talking again. We're done now. You know, that I don't, that's too weird. And I don't want to have to play with people at a level that I've got to keep my, you know, combat gear on. And I also don't want to be taken, you know, by surprise when somebody starts projecting that I don't know you well enough and you've just introduced what you were really about, which is somebody who talks a lot of stuff and is, no, we're not in a space that I have any reason to donate more time to this. You've introduced me to who you really are, and I'm not interested in being eviscerated, especially when I tell you I'm feeling vulnerable. And that's when you double down that I'm resisting what you're saying, and you just keep amping it into a point of, it's because I'm a woman. He could have chosen anything. It's because I'm a woman. It's because I'm white. It's because I'm 5'7". It's because I'm, you know, who knows? People that are looking to dig in and dig out are just really not interested in doing much except defending their position, no matter what they're saying, no matter how, enlightened they may seem, no matter what they're speaking. When people actually introduce themselves the whole way, I believe them, and I ain't got nothing else I need to say. And so I went upstairs and just did what I needed to do to, clear off that energy, because it isn't about him specifically. It's about all of the hims in my history, male, female, and everything in between, that has interacted with me like that, and I interacted with them like that. That, no, this is one more chance to clear out that whole density of, no, I absolutely do not do that. I'm not interested, thanks anyway, without being cruel, without being unkind, and without being mean. However, being super clean of, we're done, we don't have any reason, and I don't have to be unkind or lack empathy for the position. I can still have quite a bit of empathy for it. However, I'm gonna have it from over here and not get involved in any part of your story, or offer any kind of anything to somebody who is willing to stab that when it's not playing the way that they want it to. It's absolutely a waste of time, and it reinforces that behavior that, nope, I don't need to play with it like that, then let's not. But it did take me a few minutes to unwind from that, cry, of course, because that was what needed to happen, and, ultimately get to the point of, thank you for being such a I want to insert a whole bunch of words right there. Thank you for making me so aware of the fact that, I gotta go. But it brought up all kinds of shame monkeys and everything else, and it took a minute. And sometimes we have to work really hard, when we're presented with junk like that. We have to work really hard to say, no, I refuse to go back to a place where I believe that I'm somehow, a terrible person because I don't agree with you, or that I'm somehow less of a human being and don't deserve, something, or, sit in a dialogue with someone who's going to try to tell me what I'm about. 2121. Are you freaking kidding me? I broke away from that dude and I'm free. And apparently I need to remind some other part of me, because it wasn't about reminding him. He didn't care. He wasn't there to, fight for my freedom. That's not what he was doing. He was just there acting out of whatever he was acting out of. And I didn't need to know anything more other than, I'm not fighting for my freedom either. I already did it, and anywhere that it's coming up, it's a short argument about, nope, I gotta shut up and go. So anyway, we're at a hiking trail. Yeah, Hondo and I are at a hiking trail. We're ready to go and really put down a lot of this icky stuff, because this just happened today. That it's time that was part of what I was told, is use this day before, we get 1,200 inches of snow or none. Use this time while there's sunshine, while there's mountain. There's very specific energy here, apparently, that use this time and use this space to continue to neutralize and erase that whole field, that whole vibrational field, 2222. It may not erase interaction with people like that. However, it changes immensely how I deal with that the next time, because I went from living it for 50 years to, it was at least a short, way short engagement that I don't often have. However, when I have it, getting quicker and quicker about identifying it, shutting it down, and moving it on, and then dealing with the aftermath of how I feel about that, and flicking off the pain monkeys and the shame monkeys and the bullshit and the booger that wants to keep, roll that sucker hard, and no thank you, without being a total biatch to him. He doesn't need me to add any more trauma. He's apparently, wherever he is with whatever he's got going on, that would cause him to go that way, and it doesn't help me to take the pain part of me and respond and react and get all ghetto with him. So anyway, enjoy your day. As I said, we're gonna go enjoy the rest of ours. Enjoy your day, whatever part of the day you're in, and remember, get within your skin, because you're divine. It is so fine. Even if it's slow on the pickup sometimes, it is still fine. It's totally fine. It's just the human programming that can get our mind busy with that stuff. So anyway, take care, get within your skin, because you're divine. Totally fine. Take care of your beautiful selves, and we'll see you again next time. Goodbye, beautiful friends.